the first thing we were told when we got to Korea, I think, especially in training, was that Korean society is very hierarchical, and you find the same thing at school. So male colleagues are given more respect, I suppose. But as the foreigner in the school, I haven't really sensed that as much. Like, I've just thought I had to give due respect to everybody, so I haven't really noticed that whole, that dynamic. But it is challenging because some of our teachers, who are supposed to be English teachers as well, have difficulty communicating in English, not because I think some of them, not because they don't know how to speak English, but because they're not confident enough to speak in English to you. And on the rare occasions, maybe they don't know how to speak English. So that can be challenging. Sometimes you find teachers don't want to plan with you or lesson plan. They don't have the time, maybe. So they'll come to class and sort of pick up as they go along. But in middle school, I prefer that because you can run your lesson and the co-teacher can jump in whenever need be and they can assist you with translating. But at my school, I have a lot of freedom with my lesson planning, which can be a good thing and also sometimes quite challenging because you have to keep reinventing yourself and trying to find ways to keep students interested. So I found at times the workplace can be inclusive, so you will be, when you are invited to events, people who aren't as shy to speak in English will try to make an effort, and if you smile a lot, I guess, and also try to be friendly, you generally get accepted pretty quickly. But there are things that we will find different, and I don't want to take everything over because I want you guys also to speak here, but the one thing that struck me the most is just how things can change at the drop of a hat, and also how you're expected to know things that you haven't been told about sometimes. And you're like, oh really? That was happening today? Cool. Okay, so you have to be really flexible, which is the main thing. So co-teachers, in a nutshell, can be a hindrance, but sometimes can be of assistance. But when you do your afternoon classes by yourself, you do have to lay down the law pretty strong.
I pretty much agree with Avon, but the only thing I had a hard time on working with Korean co-teachers is the generation gap. Because in my high school, they were like way older than me, like half my age, and they speak English really well. It's just that we have no way of connecting, and our beliefs are different and our values. So, and also some teachers, they prefer strictly on the book, every single thing on the book. I had a hard time using outside materials. So that's one thing I had a difficult time with dealing with Korean co-teachers. So if you're going to be teaching in elementary or middle school or high school, you can expect to see some older teachers that are kind of hard to work with sometimes.
Yeah, everyone has said all the right things about how it is, and just you have to again respect the hierarchy, and it is there, and it's important to kind of have an understanding of that before you come, like kind of research Korean culture, like the whole Confucianism thing and how that fits into work culture and hierarchy, and the principal, he kind of has the say so over signing off on certain things, and kind of learning how to say yes to certain things, like the principal may say to your co-teacher to ask you to do something, and sometimes you may not want to, but you have to just say yes because that's how it goes. And working with Koreans, sometimes it can feel pretty isolating because besides your co-teacher, if they speak English well enough and you can conversate and communicate, sometimes you feel like you don't have too many other co-workers you can talk to because of the language barrier. So sometimes you just feel like you're kind of left to yourself, and kind of it's up to you to kind of figure out what's going on. But overall, it's great. The students are, they kind of help you in some ways too, but it takes a lot of adjustment, the hierarchy, the culture, and how we do things differently, and it's about we and not so much me, like in the Western culture. So,
but I think it's definitely not a place to come to if you thrive on always speaking to other people, always being in the company of your colleagues, and because Korean teachers are pretty much, they're quite busy, and even if you do have a desk in the teacher's room, your co-teacher might just say good morning to you, and that would be it. So you have to be really independent, I guess, and not needy of other people's company.
Yeah. And also our dinners, like we all have to go to dinners with our coworkers a lot of times, like a few times a school year. And you know, you have to kind of be willing to kind of be open to at least trying soju, you know, because Koreans like to drink when they go out. So you definitely have to adjust to it's okay if you're getting drunk around, you know, your coworkers. It's kind of expected here. Not that we have to go that far, but they kind of at least expect you to at least try, you know, the drinks and try soju to kind of be part of the work culture. So I noticed a lot of it is, you know, doing things to kind of be part of, you know, the family, to be part of, you know, the work family.
And also to add on to what you said earlier, and that it's just popped in my mind about being respectful of the hierarchy that exists, is also being able to take criticism from your teachers if they do criticize, which is very rare, but also to not have confrontation or in front of students especially, or if your co-teacher disagrees with you and you know calls you out on something, try not to have an argument right there and then, rather call them aside, or if there's something they've misspelled something or mistaught something to students, it's always better to do it in private.
Right.
So that's the one thing. Although I have been corrected by my co-teacher in front of my students, and then I'd just be like, okay, you know, even if you don't think, I mean, even if you know, like seriously, people don't say things like that in English, but you know, you just say okay, and you move on. It helps to foster, I think, a good relationship.
Well, the only advice I can give is just make sure you try and find like a small textbook that you can bring with you, because if you end up in high school, you're going to need to create your own curriculum and your own unit subjects for each lesson. Because when I was thrown into high school, on my first day, I had no idea what to teach. I had no book, because in high school, they just give you to the students to teach them whatever you want. So I suggest you bring a book just to be prepared, because you never know if you're going to end up in high school.
Just come here with the right intentions. This is not a vacation. You know, you are here. They are expecting you to work. And just be flexible and we've all said it, but kind of lower your expectations. That may sound really strange, but really, you know, don't expect too much. And then if something does exceed what you may have expected, be open to that. But, you know, don't expect too much and just kind of go with the flow. And we found that being from like, you know, Western culture and being from cultures that are different from South Korea, that we've had to just sort of be the opposite of what we've been in our home countries. Like back at home, I'm like, you know, planning before each moment and, you know, planning and asking questions. But here, because everything changes at the last minute, you know, having to adjust to that and just going with the flow more. So just adjust your expectations, you know, come prepared, you know, to work hard, because it is a job, it's not a vacation, and just research the culture before you come, and you know, just prepare the best way you can. And you know, if you've never worked with kids, I would suggest like working with children. Like you don't know what level you're going to be placed at, so just kind of be in an environment with kids, like youngest up to the oldest, up to teenagers, but kind of put yourself in an environment with children the best way you can.
First thing that I'd say is you will be frustrated. So prepare to be frustrated. It will get better. Sometimes you'll hit a lesson right out the ballpark, and it could just be that that group of students was, you know, on point for you on that day, you know, during that class, and try the exact same lesson with students who are at the same level, and it will totally fall flat. So you will feel discouraged sometimes, and you'll be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. But it gets better, and even after 8 months, I still have some which I'm like, oh, that was such a horrible lesson. And then, you know, sometimes you just have to adjust. So I think that's been said already, that you have to be really flexible, try to adjust. So especially in the classroom and outside, if you are African American, you will get a few stares, maybe even people touching your hair.
A few.
But sometimes, you know, if you're in a bad mood, it really gets to you. But sometimes you just smile and you're like, okay, I realize, you know, you don't know or you haven't seen a person like me, which is okay. So definitely a learning curve. You will be different, and You just have to roll with it. You have to be prepared.
Yeah, also with the culture, like the staring you mentioned, and also just the culture itself, like, at home, like we say, excuse me, if we want to get by someone in Korea. Like that goes again with researching the culture. Like I had read about, okay, they're not going to say excuse me, but it didn't really hit me until it happened. So they're going to push you out the way. They may not say excuse me, when they want to get by you. Definitely protect your immune system. A lot of us here have gotten really sick. The standards of taking care of your health or personal hygiene standards are a little bit different in Korea, and that's sort of affected a lot of us with our health. And then again, the environment, the atmosphere is different here, but just protect your health the best way you can, and definitely research like whatever area you're in. When you first get there, find out the closest hospital, find out places that have English speaking doctors so that you're ready before you get sick, so you know where to go, and try to connect with people who live in your area the best way you can, other foreigners who are living there, other teachers, so you can be a resource to each other.
And I just want to add on to Anazet about the pushing. Also, if you're lining up in stores and you're not really close up to the next person in front of you, people will think that you're not in line.
Oh,
So they will cut you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't be too mad about it.
And even if you are in line and it's evident that you are in line, older Korean people will still push in front of you and try to pay. And sometimes even the store clerks will not serve you and serve a Korean person before you. So just, I guess, learn not to take it personally. Just be like, you're not Korean, so therefore you come second to Koreans in a sense. Which I don't think is something to get mad about, but
Yeah, so much, but yeah.